Okay, so this is the vertebrae, and the vertebrae, there are cervical vertebrae, thoracic vertebrae, and lumbar vertebrae. There's also the sacrum, and the coccyx. So to remember how many there are in each of them, the best thing you can think of is the times of the day that you eat. So 7 for breakfast, 12 for lunch, and 5 for dinner. So you have 7 cervical vertebrae, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then you have 12 thoracic vertebrae, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then you have 5 of your lumbar vertebrae. Each of the vertebrae look a little bit different from each other. So your cervical vertebrae look kind of similar to the thoracic vertebrae, but you can tell that it's a cervical vertebrae if it has these transverse foramina in it. That is where your cranial nerves are going to go through. The next is your thoracic vertebrae, and it kind of looks a little bit like a giraffe. If you turn it just the right way, it almost looks like a giraffe. Then you have your lumbar vertebrae, and if you turn it just the right way, it kind of looks like a moose. So these are holy. This looks like a giraffe. This one looks like a giraffe. And this one looks like a moose. So there are features of every vertebrae, or that every vertebrae has in common. So when you look at it, you will see the body, which is right here. And I want you to kind of think about a house as we're going through this. You have the base of the house, you have the walls or the legs of the house, and you have the roof of the house. Every vertebrae will have a base, which is the body of the house. So body, body, and body. Then every vertebrae will also have the pedicles, which are here. Now, sorry, let's try that. So the pedicles, think about when you go and get maybe a pedicure. It's right at your feet. Well, this is kind of like the legs that it's standing on, so pedicle. Then you have the roof here, and this is the lamina, and same here. On the thoracic, you have pedicle, pedicle, lamina, and then the body. Body, pedicle, pedicle, lamina. The other features would be all vertebrae have a spinous process. So when you're feeling on your spine, when you feel your spine, you'll notice there's these bumps, these little protrusions at the back of your spine. These are going to be your spinous processes. So you can see it here in the cervical, spinous process in the thoracic, and the spinous process in the lumbar. There is another feature found in all vertebrae that I forgot to mention, and that is the transverse process. And every vertebrae is going to articulate with another vertebrae, except for the very top atlas. So you're going to have a superior articular facet or process, and then you'll have an inferior articular process, and that is on every one of the vertebrae. The other thing that all vertebrae will have is a vertebral foramen. So it's that big hole right there in the middle. And between, when you have the vertebrae articulating with each other, it will create holes, little spaces between the vertebrae. And these are called the intervertebral foramen. There. So inter means between, and then vertebral because it's vertebrae, and then foramen because it's whole. You also would have, it's not visible on here, a disc. So the intervertebral discs would be in between here. And they are made of fibrocartilage. Now, onto specifics of these groups. So the cervical has these two really special bones. So it has the atlas, which holds up your head. So it was named because in Greek mythology, the guy who holds up the world, his name is Atlas, and your head is kind of like the whole world. So you can see that that's where it would articulate with your head. It also articulates with the axis. On the axis, which is C2, that is C1, you will have this little projection here called a dens. And when scientists named it, they thought that it looked like a tooth. So anytime you hear the word den, it usually means tooth, like dentist or dental or anything like that. And of course, something original to the cervical vertebrae is going to be your transverse foramen. Next, you have your thoracic vertebrae. Thoracic has superior and inferior demifacets. So that will be here, and that is what the very head of your ribs articulate with. And then you will have your costal facet. There's one feature that I purposefully didn't mention, and that is the vertebral arch. I just feel like there's a lot of different opinions on what and where that is that I just left it out. The first image is probably more accurate, but I included 3 others so that you guys could get a sense of what I'm talking about. And that is everything you need to know for vertebrae.